I am the mother of a 27-year-old law enforcement police officer just outside the city of Pittsburgh. I want everybody to let this sink in. I am his mother. I don't know if when he leaves for work, I'm not sure if I'm more afraid that he's going to shoot somebody in the line of duty or he's going to get shot in the line of duty. As a mother, think how that feels. Do you really think that this ICE officer woke up saying, I want to kill a fellow American citizen? That's how this is being treated. It is ridiculous. What happened on both sides is a tragedy. This woman lost her life, right? And for all intents and purposes, so did the ICE officer, right? He's in hiding now, right? For especially politicians to go out there and demonize law enforcement. Do you know there's already been 3 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty in January? We're on the 12th day of January. The 12th day of January. I'm worried about my son shooting someone more than I'm worried about him getting shot. Seriously? This has got to stop. I don't know how it stops. I've always taught my children, you respect authority, you respect police, you respect ministers, you respect people, right? You do what you're told, you follow the law. Do I think that he agrees with every law that he has to enforce? No, he doesn't. But you can't pick and choose what laws you enforce, right? They're sent in there to do a job. And by the way, did anybody see the list of the people that they picked up, the illegals that they picked up, and the people, the fellow American citizens that they've hurt? I mean, I don't understand this demonization of law enforcement. Do you know what my son did the first, probably year when he was on duty? It was right when COVID hit. He's in a very not safe community, patrolling it, but they weren't allowed to stop people because it was COVID. He picked up people and took them to the hospital who were very sick. He got them in his car at risk to himself. It was COVID. Took them to the hospital. He stood with the food banks and he helped give out food. This is what the police in that community was doing. And to be demonized by people who have never done anything. Run for office, change the laws if you don't like it. But you're cowards and you won't do it because you know that's not what the American people want. They want borders. They want a country, a sovereign nation.
Jackie, thank you for sharing that. Really grateful to you. And I'm gonna ask my two colleagues to see what questions they have for you, but I'll start with one. How do you feel watching the video of the incident? Do you feel conflicted, or do you feel it's clearly justified what the officer did?
Oh, I abhor violence. Yeah, so I have a son who's a police officer. I am a bit conflicted, depending what angles obviously you reach for. I will be honest. Yeah, I'm conflicted. I feel so badly for her child who's going to now grow up without their mother. She was obstructing the law. She was obstructing law enforcement. They asked her to get out of the car. She wasn't afraid. She was smiling. So that narrative was blown out of the water, where she panicked and she just lunged forward. There are certain angles when you look at it that clearly this man was hit. He clearly was hit by the vehicle. I also looked at some angles and I was reading some things online where I think that people don't realize that the gentleman, the ICE officer who fired the weapon, is not the one that was at her driver's door. I mean, I think a lot of people are getting these angles confused because it seems like they're saying, oh, but he was at the side of the car. He had his hand in the window. That's not the officer who fired.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of I don't know what to call it. Not misinformation, just a wrong perspective or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Missy.
Yeah. Wow, this is tough. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. Your son is a police officer, right, in a local community. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually was with the family of a police officer that died in DC, Terry Bennett. He passed away from injuries that had happened in December. There was like a community gathering, and he was actually hit by a car. He was helping somebody on the side of the road, got hit by a car, sustained injuries in December, died in January. So he is one of the ones that you counted for. for this year. And it was interesting to hear the conversations around the police at the same time that all of this is happening with ICE. And I think one of the starkest differences is for a lot of people, police officers have sustained impact and relationships in their community. And so it is much easier for the individual to feel a connection to an officer
No,
than
not
ICE.
the way
I can
they're
see
being demonized, right? Especially leadership. That's not, that
not
isn't
the
true.
way. But it is true. There are police officers that have, I mean, in Washington, D.C., there's a police station for every ward, and each ward has the same consistent officers that patrol the neighborhoods. I mean, I live in a less than desirable neighborhood, so I'm pretty ingrained with the law enforcement, with the Metropolitan Police Department that exists in DC. There's a difference between ICE and police officers in the fact that police officers have the bandwidth to establish relationships in these areas. And what a lot of communities are seeing are ICE officers, and right, and police officers identify themselves differently. Right, they come up in a car that is marked all across, emblazoned with police. They're not wearing masks. They identify themselves as police officers. They're also held accountable to local leadership, to mayors and governors. The bureaucracy that exists for a police department is very different in appearance. Look, I don't know the inner workings of ICE in appearance than that of these ICE officers. And look, I'm right down the street from ICE. It's Southwest DC. ICE has existed for a very long time, and frankly, I've never seen so much activity than I have outside about ICE in the past 2 weeks. So I do think that ICE has to have a really tough conversation about the way that they are portrayed and positioned in American society, because ICE existed and nobody cared for a very long time. So,
Yeah, very well said, Hogan.
First of all, Jackie, I can't imagine. I'm a product of a single mother. I had a good relationship with my dad, but was raised by a single mom. Every time I go on a trip, she calls to pray with me. Every time I'm in a plane, she prays with me because I'm her only child. I can't imagine the fear she has every time I do something, much less you, who have someone who's in this field where you don't know if they're coming home every time they leave the house. So thank you for your concern, but also thank you to your child for the work that they do. One of the things you mentioned, something I said at the outset when we were talking about this topic before, was he's a member of law enforcement. Again, definitionally designed to enforce the law. If you don't like the law, you don't protest those enforcing it. You protest those who make it. If these angry people
Exactly.
were so mad that folks who are in this country illegally don't get a free ride anymore, that those who are committing fraud get kicked out of the country, or rape or murder, whatever they're in this country, whether they've done this country, whether if they're here illegally, your protest should be on Capitol Hill at lawmakers.
Yes.
It should not be at those enforcing the law.
Or run for office.
I understand, because and this isn't like I don't get a whole Biden thing. For 4 years, he just said we're not enforcing the law. So you begin to get accustomed to the fact that people just get to do what they want because we don't really have any reason or rationale to enforce the law, which I think is a violation of the Constitution, all types of things. But in addition, ICE people specifically, the deaths are up, 13%? The assaults on officers are up 13%. Death threats are up 8,000%. That's unfathomable to me. It's real, but it's unfathomable because people in this country, instead of protest, and again, I can't for the life of me wrap my head around, this is the argument always in politics, I can't wrap my head around the fact is why you would protest someone who's enforcing the law, and people that are in your community draining resources away from your own children. You'd rather stand up for the criminal than for those affected by the criminal. It makes no sense to me. But that being said, I'll just finish. I think it's important to note these people, whether they have on masks or not, they're in this community not to cause chaos. They're in there because it's already chaotic, and they're trying to bring it down and focus on the people who are here. And for those who would say, but our American citizens commit crime at a much higher rate than people who are in this country illegally, you're making my point. We already got enough crazies. We don't need more in this country who don't have a right to be here. So I stand with you, and I'm sorry you have to deal with that every single day. But I think the ire of the left is focused on the wrong thing here.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.